Yeah, it sounds like a lot of fun. Now, I've seen now, and we've chatted about this before a little bit,
Yes.
that you have developed, you're co-author of a book and a course called Hands On. Is this sort of an extension of your love for movement and working with children? Can you just give me a little bit more information about that?
Sure.
Please?
So, together with Marcel Goldsmith Shaman, who's an occupational therapist, we decided together many years ago, let's take these movements and make them practical for the classroom teacher so that any teacher could pick up our photo manual with a few descriptions and use them in their classroom to help groups of kids, because it isn't always possible to work one-on-one with children. So this work is amazing. That's why I'm very passionate about it, because we can work with this in groups as well. And there's to be able to open the door to learning for groups of kids is really what we need right now in every classroom in the world.
Absolutely.
So the manual was basically designed to do that, and then we were asked to create a course, a workshop that would use the manual as its workbook, so to speak, as its manual. The workshop would use that as its manual. And so I have had the most wonderful adventures in Korea, in Malaysia, in Spain, in America, right through America, teaching workshops to similarly minded teachers who want to change the lives of kids in a positive way. And this has been a journey of just joy and fulfillment for me.
Yeah.
Yes.
So interesting that you're saying you're going to all these different countries.
Yes.
Movement is something, as I'm understanding as you're speaking, movement is something that every single baby, every single race, every single person out there
Yes.
is in need of.
Yes.
Yeah.
It isn't language dependent. The way that children develop is universal, whether the baby is Chinese or the baby is African. Every baby is going to develop in a similar way. And that's why movement is so incredibly important. So that brings me back to another important passion of mine, and that is to see that handwriting, and look at my hands, I'm doing this for a reason, that handwriting is not taken out of the curriculum. The technocrats would say, oh wow, it's the fourth industrial revolution, our children must all be absolutely tech savvy. But that is okay, but do not stop writing. Why?
Yes, why?
Because the use of the hand, as man developed and evolved, the use of the hand was very important to the development of language. And so when they do scans, brain scans, and they watch a person and they record a person writing, the language center of the brain lights up profoundly. However, when you're typing on the phone or typing on a keyboard, few little lights go on up there in the brain. So for me, it is vitally important that we develop children's hands to the extent that they can write, and later typing is something that they can do. I'm not saying don't do it, but I'm saying the importance of using the hands to develop the language brain. We don't want to lose our creativity, our ideas, and just become thinkers in a certain way. So that's another passion of
My
mine.
daughter said, they're seeing with some of the teenagers that they mix with, that if this person is really very keen on playing video games all the time, they find that it's difficult to actually have a conversation. Could that also be hand in hand with what you're saying to me now, that the typing and the handwriting, if we are not using our handwriting or our hands in an appropriate way, would you think, or could it be connected that now our children are struggling to express themselves?
So let's unpack that a little. Here are children sitting they're not moving they're moving their thumbs maybe while they're playing a game. And their neck is down, and they're in this bad posture, and their eyes are focused on a screen. Okay? So there's not much eye movement going on there. It's following this game. And so the less movement our children experience, the less they're going to be able to communicate, to know how to work with a team, to develop language skills. They're going to lose that. And I understand that there's certain groups of kids that definitely benefit from having a computer instead of writing. I do understand that. But in the main, generally, we want our kids to be out there and using their bodies and using their hands and developing appropriately so that they can then think creatively about how to use technology. Don't let technology be the driver of the new creativity. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, it makes sense. So what you're saying is a lot of parents are like super excited. I was on Facebook and I saw an advert of enriching children to read.
Yes.
But it's of course on iPad or a laptop or something like that. So what I'm understanding, if you can maybe just verify that,
yes.
that if we say we are going to rely on a computer for our child to be able to read,
yes.
will they really read up to full standard then? Because if that is the stimulation, we don't do the proper movements.
Okay, so I think it's a combination of everything. There are some amazing programs out there that develop the ability to visually and auditorily see sounds and put them together, etc. So it depends on the program, but to sit in front of a screen all the time without moving really isn't helping altogether. So I think that if we balance good programs with movement as well as other means of working with kids, then I think we can include the computer in the program. But if it's just a raw, noisy, bam, kind of game, definitely not. There are some brilliant programs out there. Really have enjoyed some of them. And I share them with the kids because they're good programs. But writing is also very important in the remediation of language and reading. Yes.
So if we could just give, if you had to give a parent, some tips.
Yes.
How would you know? You're now being sold this program. How are you going to know this program is going to be good? You're saying something like creativity or something. How can you know that the program you're using is actually benefiting your child?
I think that any parent who's going to spend a lot of money on a program may want to go and look for reviews. And if they're just 5 reviews and they're all wonderful, those are people who've been put there to show you that they are good. You need to go and do some more research. And maybe if you're going to use technology, put it out there on Facebook. Has anybody used this program? Give us some feedback. Put it out on the World Wide Web and get information from others regarding these particular programs. Or there's a wonderful site called Best Thing Ever. And you can submit your question about, has anybody used XYZ program? Can you give us some input? And that's just fantastic. What comes back from that is amazing.
So what did you say they're called?
Best Thing Ever.
All right, yeah.
I've used it a lot. That Best Thing Ever is very
Best Thing Ever.
Best Thing Ever. Cockroach remover. Best Thing. Yeah, lots of interesting things. But there you go. There you can get out to
everyone. This is the beauty of technology.
Don't rush into it. Exactly. Technology is beautiful, but everything must have its place. We want our kids developing their eyes. Now, you were speaking about kids who on their
some programs promise they can get your children to read at age 2.
Absolute nonsense. Children should only be really looking at books when they're 7. Before that, they should be out looking at 3-dimensional objects, developing their 3-dimensional vision, because only really at the age of 8 are they, between 7 and 8, are they ready for the 2-dimensional books. and
So
screens.
what you're saying is the structure of the eye is not ready to take in.
No. So for example, I don't particularly agree with England where they teach kids to read at 4 years old, and some will learn. But how good is it for their eyes? Rather let children play, develop their imagination and creativity and all their body skills, their upper body skills and their tonal skills and those kind, and very